People think betrayal always arrives loudly, with screaming matches, slammed doors, and shattered dishes. But mine arrived quietly. It came in the form of an email notification at 6:42 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. I've filed for divorce. No explanation. No apology. No conversation. Just a sentence, cold, efficient, and final. My name is Laura Bennett, and for 12 years, I believed I was married to a man who loved me. His name was Michael Bennett. Or at least, that's who I thought he was. Underscore 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 underscore. The marriage everyone envied. From the outside, our life looked perfect. We lived in a quiet suburb outside Columbus, Ohio, tree-lined streets, good schools, neighbors who waved politely every morning. Michael worked in financial consulting. I ran the administrative side of his business for years before stepping back to raise our daughter, Emily. We weren't flashy, but we were stable. Or so I believed. What people didn't see was how slowly Michael began disappearing. He stayed late more often. His phone was always face down. His laugh no longer reached his eyes. Still, I trusted him. Trust is dangerous when given blindly. The mistress I wasn't supposed to know about. I discovered Rachel by accident. A receipt slipped from Michael's suit jacket, a hotel bar receipt. 2 glasses of wine. Chocolate dessert. A name written at the bottom. Rachel Hardsuit. I didn't confront him that night. I waited. Because deep down, I already knew. Weeks later, Michael sat across from me at our kitchen table, the same table where we celebrated birthdays, anniversaries, and Emily's first lost tooth. He didn't look ashamed. I'm in love with someone else, he said. Just like that. No hesitation. No remorse. 12 years reduced to a confession delivered between sips of coffee. Underscore 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 underscore. The divorce that changed everything. Michael moved out within days. The divorce was faster than it should have been. He wanted freedom. Rachel wanted a ring. What he didn't realize was something very important. Backhand index pointing out all our finances were under my control. For years, Michael trusted me to manage everything, accounts, investments, business, cash flow. I wasn't just a housewife. I was the backbone. So on the day the divorce papers were finalized, I made a decision that would change the course of his life. I didn't yell. I didn't threaten. I didn't beg. I simply cut off his financial access legally, cleanly, permanently. Joint accounts closed. Business funds separated. Credit lines frozen. Everything that belonged to me stayed with me. And everything that belonged to him suddenly wasn't enough. Underscore 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 underscore. The wedding invitation I never expected. 6 months later, an envelope arrived in the mail. Cream-colored. Thick paper. Michael and Rachel's wedding invitation. My hands trembled as I read it. Same city. Same church. Same date that would have been our anniversary. They even had the audacity to include, "We hope you'll respect our new beginning." I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because something inside me had finally snapped. I didn't plan revenge. Life did that for me. Underscore 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 underscore. The man Michael never expected to see again. On the day of the wedding, the church was full. Guests smiled. Cameras flashed. Rachel walked down the aisle wearing a dress paid for by money Michael no longer had. Everything was perfect. Until the church doors opened. And a man walked in. Tall, calm, confident. A man Michael hadn't seen in years. A man who knew everything. Michael's face drained of color. Because the man walking toward the altar wasn't a stranger. He was Daniel Carter, my former employer, and the silent partner Michael betrayed without knowing it. The moment Daniel Carter stepped into the church, the air changed. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was the kind of silence that only comes when the truth finally arrives. Michael froze at the altar. Rachel noticed it immediately, how his smile cracked, how his fingers tightened around hers like he was holding onto the edge of a cliff. "Michael," she whispered, forcing a smile for the guests. "Are you okay?" He didn't answer. Because his eyes were locked on the man walking slowly down the aisle, polished shoes echoing against the marble floor, posture straight, expression unreadable. Daniel Carter hadn't come to celebrate. He had come to collect. Underscore 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 underscore. Underscore 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 underscore. The man from my past. I hadn't seen Daniel in almost 8 years. Back then, I worked as an executive assistant at Carter and Rowe Financial, one of the most respected consulting firms in Ohio. Daniel wasn't loud or arrogant like most executives. He listened. Observed. Remembered details most people forgot. When Michael decided to start his own consulting firm, Daniel had been the one who helped us, quietly, strategically. What Michael never knew was that Daniel wasn't just helping. He was investing. A silent partner. No public paperwork. No ego. Just trust. And Michael broke that trust the same way he broke our marriage, by lying. Underscore 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 underscore. Underscore 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 underscore. The deal Michael thought he got away with. 6 months before the divorce, Michael made a decision he never told me about. He diverted client funds. Not enough to raise alarms, just enough to finance his new life. Hotel stays. Gifts. Rachel's apartment downtown. What he didn't realize was that every single transaction passed through systems Daniel monitored personally. Daniel noticed the irregularities immediately. But instead of confronting Michael, he waited. Because Daniel believed in timing. And accountability. Underscore 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 underscore. Underscore 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 underscore. Back to the wedding. Rachel squeezed Michael's hand again. Why is he staring at us? Michael swallowed hard. I'll explain later. But Daniel was already standing beside them. Congratulations, Daniel said calmly. Beautiful ceremony. The officiant hesitated, unsure whether to continue. Michael's voice shook. Daniel, what are you doing here? Daniel turned slightly, his voice low but firm. I thought it was appropriate to discuss unfinished business before you begin a new chapter. Rachel frowned. Excuse me, who are you? Daniel smiled politely. An old partner. And, unfortunately, an unpaid one. A murmur rippled through the guests. Phones slowly lowered. Smiles faded. Something was wrong. The truth comes out. Daniel reached into his jacket and pulled out a thin folder. Michael Bennett, he said, loud enough for the front rows to hear, you diverted $187,000 of client funds over 18 months. Rachel's hand slipped from Michael's. That money, Daniel continued, was traced, documented, and recovered. Recovered. Michael's knees nearly buckled. And today, Daniel added calmly, formal charges were filed. The officiant stepped back. The church doors opened again. 2 men in suits entered, not police, not security. Lawyers. Rachel gasped. Michael, what is he talking about? Michael turned to her, eyes wild. Rachel, please, this isn't what it sounds like. Daniel looked at her gently. Ma'am, I suggest you sit down. She didn't. She couldn't. Underscore 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 underscore. The collapse of the perfect lie. Rachel's voice cracked. You told me your divorce was because she was controlling. That your finances were frozen out of spite. Michael couldn't meet her eyes. Daniel nodded once. Laura Bennett acted entirely within the law. The financial restrictions occurred after the misconduct was discovered. Rachel looked like the ground had vanished beneath her. You said you were a victim, she whispered. Michael's silence was louder than any confession. Underscore 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 underscore. My quiet victory. I wasn't at the wedding. I didn't need to be. I sat at home, sipping coffee, my phone on silent. Daniel called me later that evening. It's done, he said simply. I closed my eyes. Not out of relief, but out of release. Michael didn't go to jail right away. That surprised people. They expected handcuffs, mugshots, headlines. But real consequences rarely arrive with sirens. They arrive slowly. They arrive every morning when you wake up and realize there is nowhere left to run. Underscore 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 underscore. The days after the wedding. Michael moved into a small, furnished apartment on the edge of town, the kind with thin walls and no memories. No family photos. No awards on the walls. No laughter echoing from another room. Just silence. His phone stopped ringing. Former clients wouldn't return his emails. Colleagues avoided him. Even the men who once envied his success now pretended they'd never known him. Because in business, trust is currency. And Michael was bankrupt. Underscore 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 underscore. Rachel's awakening. Rachel didn't leave town. She stayed. That alone told me something. One afternoon, she showed up at my door. No makeup. No designer clothes. Just a woman who had learned the hard way that charm fades when truth enters the room. I don't expect forgiveness, she said quietly. I just needed to say this face to face. I listened. She swallowed hard. He lied to me. About everything. About you. About the money. About who he was. I nodded. He did the same to me. Rachel's eyes filled. I thought I won. But there was nothing to win. For the first time, I saw her not as the other woman, but as another casualty. The thing Michael didn't lose. Despite everything, Michael still had one thing: his pride. And pride makes people do foolish things. He tried to fight the charges. He blamed Daniel. He blamed me. He blamed the system. But evidence doesn't care about excuses. Every transaction, every signature, every timestamp. Daniel hadn't just caught him. He'd documented him. Underscore 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 underscore. Emily's question. One evening, Emily sat beside me on the couch, homework forgotten. "Mom," she asked softly, "why didn't Dad come to my school play?" I took a breath. Because no matter how much someone hurts you, they're still someone else's father. "He's dealing with the consequences of his choices," I said carefully. She thought for a moment. "Does that mean he doesn't love us?" I wrapped my arm around her. "No," I said. "It means he forgot how to love properly." Underscore 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 underscore. The courtroom moment. The courtroom was quiet. Michael stood before the judge, no expensive suit this time, no confident smile. Just a man exposed. The judge spoke calmly. "Mr. Bennett, this court finds that your actions were deliberate, sustained, and harmful." Michael's shoulders sagged. Sentencing was scheduled for a later date. But the damage was already done. Daniel's final visit. Daniel came by my office one afternoon. "I wanted you to hear it from me," he said. "The firm is fully protected. You're clear." I smiled faintly. "Thank you." He hesitated. "You handled all of this with grace." I shook my head. "No. I handled it with boundaries." Daniel nodded. "That's stronger." Underscore 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 underscore. Michael's lowest point. 2 weeks later, Michael called me. Not angry. Not defensive. Broken. "I don't know who I am without the life I built," he admitted. I closed my eyes. "You never built it alone," I said gently. That was the problem. He was quiet for a long time. "I'm sorry," he finally whispered. It was too late. But it was real. Rachel's choice. Rachel moved out of state shortly after. Before she left, she sent me a message. "I'm starting over. This time with honesty." I wished her peace. Nothing more. Nothing less. Underscore 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 underscore. The unexpected shift. Something strange happened in the months that followed. I thrived. Not because Michael fell, but because I stood. I started consulting again. Took on new clients. Rebuilt my career on my terms. Emily laughed more. The house felt lighter. And for the first time in years, I slept without fear. Underscore 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 underscore. The last letter. One afternoon, a letter arrived. From Michael. No return address. Inside was a single sentence. I lost everything the day I stopped choosing integrity. I folded the letter and let it go. There's a moment in every story when the noise fades, when the anger burns out, when the questions finally stop demanding answers. For me, that moment came on an ordinary Tuesday morning, months after the wedding that never finished. Underscore 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 underscore. Michael's final consequence. Michael was sentenced quietly. No cameras, no headlines, no crowd, just a courtroom and a judge who believed accountability mattered. 18 months. Not just for financial fraud, but for the pattern of deception that had defined his choices. When he was led away, Michael didn't look at me. Not because he didn't care, but because he finally understood what he had destroyed. Underscore 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 underscore. The visit I never expected. 6 weeks into his sentence, I received a request. Michael wanted to see me. I didn't owe him that. But I went not for him, but for myself. He sat across from me in a visiting room that smelled like disinfectant and regret. I don't ask for forgiveness, he said quietly. I don't deserve it. I nodded. You're right. He flinched not from cruelty, but from honesty. I just want you to know, he continued, that everything I blamed you for was me. I studied his face. This time, there were no masks. I hope you become the man you pretended to be, I said. It was the kindest truth I could offer. Underscore 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 underscore. Underscore 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 underscore. Emily's strength. Emily adapted faster than I expected. Children often do. She joined a drama club, made new friends, started speaking her mind. One night, as I tucked her into bed, she said, "Mom, I'm proud of you." Those 4 words healed wounds Michael never could. Underscore 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 underscore. Underscore 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 underscore. The life that replaced the lie. I didn't rebuild the same life. I built a better one. I moved closer to the city, opened my own firm, hired women who had been underestimated the way I once was. Success felt different this time. Quieter. Earned. Underscore 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 underscore. Underscore 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 underscore. The truth about the wedding. People still ask what happened at Michael's wedding. They expect drama, public humiliation, a cinematic ending. But the truth is simpler. What happened wasn't revenge. It was exposure. The wedding didn't end because of a man who walked in. It ended because lies can't survive the light. Underscore 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 underscore. underscore 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 underscore. A final message. Years later, I received one last letter from Michael. Short. Handwritten. I finally understand. Love isn't what you take, it's what you protect. I didn't reply. Some lessons don't need responses. Underscore 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 underscore. Underscore 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 underscore. The lesson I carry forward. Betrayal doesn't break you. Silence doesn't make you weak. And justice doesn't always shout. Sometimes it walks calmly into a room and tells the truth.